stay. So without further ado, please welcome Tom Baldwin.
Well, to start with, Bristol and District Anti-Cuts Alliance is quite a mouthful, so I'm going to refer to it by the acronym BADACA. And on behalf of BADACA, I'd like to thank you all for extending us this invitation to speak. We're an organisation that is opposed to all cuts that hurt ordinary people, no matter who makes them, no matter where they fall, be that on services, on jobs, wages, benefits, pensions, or anything else that's coming under attack. And although obviously CND is focused on a specific issue, I'm sure most of your members would agree with these aims in any case. But there is, of course, a very specific link between the two organisations, between the two campaigns. Because at a time when austerity is being pushed, when we're told we can no longer afford the things that I believe should be the foundations of a civilised society in the 21st century, then this government is looking to spend £100 billion on something that is at best useless. The best case scenario is that they simply sit at the bottom of the ocean and do nothing, and God help us if they're ever used. Now, austerity cuts are catch-all terms that are used to describe a generalised attack upon the living conditions of working class and middle class people. To describe all of these, even to try and list them, would not be possible tonight, even if I was the only speaker and I didn't let anyone from the floor speak. So I'll mention just a few, but what I really want to focus on is the arguments against it, and particularly what we can and what we are doing about it. Suffice to say that in total, since this government came to power, the average household has seen a 15% decline in living standards. That is a chilling statistic, and especially so when you consider that up until yesterday, the government had only done about 1/5 of the coalition programme. Yesterday was a very important day. It was D-Day for a lot of people on benefits. Punitive benefit changes came in, including the bedroom tax. Yesterday also saw the implementation of the changes to the NHS. It's a big leap forward in what has been a creeping process over a number of years of private companies, profit-making companies coming into our health service. But now, effectively, it's the end of the NHS as a national, publicly owned service. Instead, really, it's just a logo that will be franchised out. Of course, it's not just the cuts directly coming from the government, but those being passed on by local councils. In Bristol, it's no different. Our new mayor, George Ferguson, promised a new type of politics when he was elected, but what we've had so far is the same old mantra that councils can't do anything, that they have to do the government's dirty work, and depressingly familiar results. £35 million cut out the local budget, 300 jobs to go, 50 of which are in children's centres. I don't have time to list it all. Now, we're told that this is unavoidable, that the country is so deep in debt that we can't afford these things. It's not true. If that were true, we wouldn't have £100 billion to spend on Trident. If it were true, the government would not have been able to afford to cut corporation tax, to cut the top rate of tax paid by the wealthiest people. This deficit could be plugged simply by collecting the amount of tax that's supposed to be paid. £120 billion that goes avoided or evaded each year, mainly by the rich. There's plenty of money in this society. Those banks, the sector that was bailed out, that started this crisis, has been started giving huge bonuses again. Big businesses are sitting on a cash pile of £800 billion. It's hard to get your head around these numbers, but to put that in context, you could give every man, woman and child in the country £10 million each, and you'd still have some change spare from that lot. And I don't even think that austerity will succeed in its stated aim. The total benefits bill is likely to rise as people are forced out of work. The involvement of private companies into public services historically has cost more and not less. So if you look at the new hospital being built up in Southmead, it's being built under a scheme called the Private Finance Initiative. The cost of the build is around £700 million. The cost to the taxpayer is 3 times that, because we're having a private company build it and we're leasing it back off them. The rail subsidy is three times what it is now, what it was when it was British Rail. So these companies that are bidding for these contracts aren't doing so out of the goodness of their heart, but because they want to make a profit, and that money will be coming from us. The real reason for this is that we have a government of the rich acting for the rich, acting in the interests of their big business backers. Really, what is a process of Robin Hood in reverse, stealing from us, giving to the wealthy. The privatisations that they're making allow new markets to be exploited, our health service, our education, care services, etc. The attacks upon public sector workers, attacks upon trade union organisation and other means that workers have of taking care of themselves, things like employment tribunals, etc. All those attacks, including the impoverishment of unemployed people, all help businesses drive down wage costs, drive down conditions and improve their profits. This is the real reason for the austerity that's being pushed. But of course the purpose of the Anti-Cuts Alliance is not to go round sowing the seeds of despair, but instead to offer hope. And there's always hope, because acting together, ordinary people have an enormous amount of power and potential power to change this. So what are we as the Anti-Cuts Alliance doing about it? Well, firstly, just simply countering the claim that austerity is necessary and that there's no choice but to cut, I think is important. It's a starting point for building a campaign. As is having an organisation in a city like Baedeker that can act as a single coordinating body that supports all the different anti-cuts efforts and brings them together under a single organisation, drawing in as many people as possible. I think that's important. Our position of opposing all cuts is not just a point of principle for us, that ordinary people shouldn't have to pay for a crisis we didn't cause, but I think it's also of the utmost practical importance to the anti-cuts campaigns. We must reject the division that this government tries to sow between us, between workers in the public and the private sector, between those that are in work and those that are on benefits, between those just starting out their working lives and those that are drawing a pension or soon to be drawing a pension. Those divisions must be avoided, because we're stronger when we stand together. And I think opposing all the cuts that are made is an important way of doing that. So some of the things that we've been up to, well, we've lobbied the local council repeatedly, we've lobbied other and protested outside other organisations as well. For example, Atos, the company that does testing for people that are disabled and claim disability benefits. You know, we've called and supported other demonstrations, and I'd let everyone here know that there's an organisation called, a demonstration called by the Trades Council in Bristol that's taking place on the 4th of May, and I think that will be an important demonstration. Other means of drawing people in and taking practical action to stop the cuts. So with the new bedroom tax that's coming out, we're having a series of meetings around the city, the next one being in Philwood, in Knoll West, and we'll be discussing practical steps that can be taken there. What can be done if the council sends bailiffs after people who are unable to pay their rent? What can be done to prevent people being evicted from their homes? We've also supported strikes of workers who are looking to defend their living standards and fight back against the tax on pensions, for example, pay, working hours, etc. I think all of these things taken on their own can be useful and can have an effect. But to be most effective, they need to be combined into a single programme of action. One that can direct not just against this cut or the other, but against this government, against the whole agenda of austerity. The TUC, the Trade Union Congress, has a policy of looking into the practicalities of a one-day general strike. I think that would be a huge step forward in the struggle against the cuts. It will bring together not only all those workers currently organised in trade unions, but I think also would have the authority to win the support of millions who are unorganised, people who are out of work, etc. So the final thing I'll say is an appeal for people here to join us to get involved in the Anti-Cuts Alliance. I've mentioned the meeting in Philwood, that's taking place in the Philwood Community Centre on Thursday the 11th at 7 p.m. There's also open meetings that we have once a month. They're on the 4th Monday of the month. They have usually been here in this room. Also, if people want more information, want more contact details, they can speak to me at the end. That's my time, so thank you very much.
Thanks very much indeed, Tom. This is the moment to share a message of greetings and solidarity from the film director Ken Loach, that many of you will know of. His most recent film, Spirit of 45, is doing the rounds at the moment to great popular acclaim. He says, "Sorry not to be with you. I fully support the Scrap Trident campaign. In solidarity and best wishes, Ken Loach." So, thank you. Now,